Arsenal BiteSize Podcast. I'm, of course, Clayton Nima, and I'm joined by my co-host, Clayton. We're here to preview the Leeds match on Sunday away at Ellen Road. So, very exciting game. Still top of the table. Game week 11, here we are, quarter of the season gone, and it's going to be an exciting few weeks before the World Cup, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like the season's flying by. But I think Sunday's going to be a tough test. Obviously, we had some joy there last season, but yeah, I don't know. Like when we go through the actual predicted lineups, matchups, and stuff, I think we'll see why there might be a few key battles. But before we get into that, should we? Obviously, we're on a bit of a tight schedule today. Should we touch on Bodo game from last night very briefly? Obviously,
yeah, let's have
another win. Yeah, like we're doing all we need to do to qualify, really, and heading towards winning the group, which I think no dramas. Like you just said to me before we hit go live, like when you're making that many changes, I think you're not really paying attention to the quality of performance, are you? Especially on a pitch like that. And like I said in the previous episode, I just really like how Arteta's managing the minutes of the squad, to be honest. So I just look at it, no dramas, another 3 points on the board, go win that group.
I couldn't agree more. I think there was a lot of negativity about the style of the performance and lack of fluency, but it's to be expected with so many changes and players not playing together. If you ask me, it's a very mature performance. We did what we had to do, playing on an AstroTurf pitch, in the cold, frozen floor below you. There's only so much you can do, right? And it's good to see a lot of our legs get rested, ready for this big game away, because I think this will be a tough test. And of the away games we played this season, obviously we lost to Man United. I think this Leeds away game will be our second toughest away game so far. So
I think so, yeah.
It's definitely going to be a big battle for us. But yeah, let's go on to Leeds then in that case and kind of predicted lineup. So we've gone for the same 11 that faced Liverpool. As usual, there's a debate about left back. Like maybe I could see Tierney start instead of Tomiyasu there, just from the interview he did today. I don't know if you saw it about.
I saw the interview, but I'm quite bullish on Tommy at left back for this week. And should I say why? Should I go into that now?
Yeah, please do. Yeah. Go into it now.
So I actually did some homework for this preview, just looking at like a bit more into Leeds and stuff, because I've not watched as much football outside of Arsenal this year as I'd have liked. And I know about Leeds' style and how they play and stuff. And I had this perception that they're quite a high energetic team. They press and stuff. And one thing I feel like I glossed over last week, so I wanted to mention it, but just completely forgot. We talked about why Tomiyasu came into the team, right? His aerial, like the way he cuts out the crossfield balls, the 1v1 defending, the fact that it's against an opposite foot winger on the other side. One thing I forgot to mention, Tierney, quite often in games when we're under the cosh, he'll like hoof it. Whereas Tommy brings it down, similar to Zinchenko, he'll pick a pass out and stuff like that. And I think against a team like Leeds, so one thing I found from my homework, in terms of pressures, which is defined as winning the ball back 5 seconds later, they're the second best team in the league for that. And I just feel like they're going to try and hound us. And I think you need that technical security at the back to play around that. And so I'm a bit nervous about Gabriel for this game again. And I don't think Zinchenko is fit because we've not seen anything, but if he is, I could see a world for this game because of that technical security where you see Tommy left centre back and Zinchenko left back. But obviously, I don't think Zinchenko is fit. But that's why I'm quite bullish on Tommy at left back for this game. And then I don't know if you feel the same, but I feel like 10 of the 11 picks itself again, personally.
Yeah, it does. And for the podcast listeners, if you're new and you've obviously not been listening to the previous episodes, just for your sake, the visuals show obviously Ramsdale in goal, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Tomiyasu, Partey, Odegaard, Xhaka, Jesus, Saka, Martinelli. I think the thing for me is, right, like if you play the way Tomiyasu did, and he was like secretly like one of the best players in the match against Liverpool, he kept Salah quiet enough that the guy got subbed at the 70th minute too. I didn't see much from Salah, and I think that's all thanks to Tomiyasu. I can't see a world in which he then doesn't start the next game, which is a tough away game. Like
he didn't get a single minute last night either.
Yeah, and I think that's very telling, right? So, yeah, I'm convinced. Obviously, the fact that Zinchenko seems to be nowhere in sight. I think the latest about a week ago was that he'd had a reoccurrence of an injury, or he'd been so it's like a new injury. So it's not the injury he was out for before. So I do think he'll be protected with this very kind of congested period in October with games. So I guess the biggest positive for me is that we do have a home game, I think, against PSV the following Thursday.
We
So
do.
at
Yep.
least we don't have to travel to Europe. So that's always a positive. The rest of the league, apart from Man City, obviously will be playing midweek Premier League ties, catching up their games in hand. So
Yeah.
see if we can still stay top without playing, if as long as we beat
What?
Leeds.
That's a really good point. One thing that is even more impressive about that stat and Leeds regaining the ball, they've played one less game than everyone else. Like the fact that they're second and they've only played 8 games, like, yeah, that's really impressive. So we need to be on it on
Yeah, no,
Sunday.
it is. So I think they're very good. I do wonder from their lineup perspective who is going to start. So last week, obviously, Sinistera wasn't in the team. So we saw
Yeah,
both
is he back
Bamford and
this week?
Rodrigo start. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find out. I'm trying to find some presser quotes because for the podcast listeners, the lineup they went with against Crystal Palace, just for your sake. So they had Meslier in goal, Christensen, Koch, Cooper, Stroik. They had Roca and Adams in the midfield, and then Aronson, Rodrigo, Harrison, and Bamford up top. So
I've
you would
just
expect
checked.
Aronson to play a number 10 normally, and Sinistero is a right winger.
Sinistera
So,
is available for selection, and so is, I mean, he's pretty pants, but Junior Firpo, he's also
okay.
available. So whether he goes in instead of Strauch at left back, but yeah, so
So I
Sinistera is
guess,
available. That's
so
the main
Sinistero will probably play, but then that kind of makes you lead to the question of
for
what
who.
happens next, right? Like, is Rodrigo
Yeah,
going to get dropped so Aronson plays as a 10, or is Bamford not going to play? But I don't know. Like, I think Bamford does play. So maybe it's Rodrigo that makes way for Sinistera. In that case, Sinistera is quite a good winger. He's obviously the Rafinha replacement for them, and that
exactly.
would push more towards starting Tomiyasu over Tierney, I think, to maintain some control at the back there.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
just think
overall,
if
obviously, they lost that game, right? Just to say as well, so they lost 2-1 to Palace.
yeah,
And at the beginning of the match, they looked all over Palace. I think Palace really grew into that game and they came back good in the second half. But in the first half, like Palace looked dreadful. Like I was questioning
yeah.
why I had Palace players in my FPL team.
Like I know Leeds have had an up and down season so far, but there are periods where they look really, really good. And I think that's why we need to be really careful on Sunday and not be complacent at all. Because where they are so quick at regaining the ball, like they are such an aggressive team, and the way they, they'll regain the ball and then they'll transition like through the line so quickly. They're very direct. They get the ball up the pitch, they progress it very quickly. And I think if we're not structurally on it and we're not technically secure, I think they could really hurt us on Sunday. And we'll go on to score predictions later on, but I really think they will score, which I don't want to admit. But even just from like doing, like I said, my homework, I found a few other interesting things that might benefit us. So I'm conscious I've probably sounded quite negative so far, but there is room where we can hurt them. As we know, we're a very good attacking unit, right? And even though their non-pen XG is like kind of mid-table, for big chances conceded, they're the 4th worst so far this season. And like again, what I said about they've only played 8 games instead of 9, it works the same way reversed, right? That's not that that's not great if you're the 4th worst for chances conceded and you've played 1 game less than everyone else. Like that's there for us to take advantage of that. And then the other thing I found, so as we know, we are one of the we've got some of the attackers in our team are some of the best dribblers in the league, right? This I found really interesting. If we can isolate some of their fullbacks, certain areas of the pitch, get people 1v1, Leeds are the worst team in the league statistically for dribbles past like individual players. And it's not close. Like again, they've only played 8 games compared to 9, so it should be closer. The rest of the bunch are like Spurs, Wolves. There was like 4 or 5 teams, and they were in the low 80s for that stat. Leeds are on 106. So I'm thinking Martinelli, Jesus, like the link ups in that final third. If we can just get 1v1, I think we can really get some joy and create some high quality chances on Sunday. So yeah, just conscious I started on a negative where they could hurt us, but I think it's very important to acknowledge our strengths and where we could absolutely go and hurt them too.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And actually, I think I'd seen a recent stat as well from Sky, maybe that the most successful dribbles in the Premier League so far, number 1 was Martinelli with 25, and
Exactly.
just below him was, I think, either Saka or Jesus. So the Arsenal boys, the wingers, the attackers, they are up there for successful dribbles this season across the entire league. And if that's one area that we can kind of take advantage of Leeds, my hope is that they'll be tired and they won't be able to keep up with our intensity. Like we saw how fit we were and our work
Yeah.
rate against Liverpool, who also pressed quite aggressively as a team. They've been
Yep.
known as, the the best pressers in the league for years.
100%.
So I think if we can do it against them, hopefully we can do it against Leeds. And the only caveat is obviously we won't have the home crowd. Like they won't be there to lift us if we go
Ellen
down.
Road is a very, very good. Like their support is incredible. They will be loud. That will be an intimidating place to go. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this new team kind of copes with that.
Yeah, so I'm honestly really looking forward to it. And it will be another test for us. I think we'd seen when we spoke last week, there was a lot of people saying that, let's see how Arsenal does against Spurs and Liverpool. Let's see how October goes. They've not faced anyone.
Yeah.
Now that we've beaten those teams, they're obviously saying similar things. They're now saying we've had easy away games.
The
apart from United,
goalposts
which
keep
we
changing,
lost.
right?
Yeah. Now they're saying we've got to face all of the top 12 away from home still. So let's kind of hope that we can kind of put that right and remind them like that there is a whole change and shift in the culture at the club and the mentality of the players, and having players like Jesus here and Zinchenko kind of proven winners with 4 Premier League titles each. I think that's rubbing off on the kids, and they're learning like the step ups you have to take. And even the likes of Xhaka and Partey, the more experienced senior players, I think you hear the players talking about them exactly. They say, Odegaard's the captain, but for the players, I still believe that in their heart, they look to Xhaka as their role model. Like he's the one who puts in the hard work and the work ethic. So
just one more observation on their team. Just like I've not checked stats to back this up, but I'm looking at that back line and I'm thinking if we can pressurize Strauch or Firpo, whoever plays at left back, Cooper, Cott, like the individual errors, I'm sure we can get some joy from pressing them from the front if we get our structure correct. I really do. Again, I've not checked any stats to back that up, but just from what I know of their technical ability at the back, I feel like we can get some joy there too.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Let's look at some more of the kind of data behind the matchup.
Yep.
So I don't have Gabriel FPL Lens's net XG this week. He's actually on a holiday in Mexico with his family, so he wasn't on the show. But I do have FPL Mariner from our net that who shows FDR, so his fixture difficulty rating for anyone who isn't an FPL player and doesn't know the acronyms. So there's 2 kind of elements to this visual for anyone listening on podcast. We'll go into the Martinelli versus Saka comparison later. That was something we obviously did earlier in the season as well, in the preseason, as well as halfway through so far. But in terms of the FDR, so what this shows you is a combination of things. So it shows kind of attack and defense are the first 2 columns. So essentially saying Arsenal are 0.8 for attack. So that's positive, but it's not great. It's not that great.
Is that specifically for this game as a matchup, or
just for this match as a matchup? And it compares our attacking metrics to their defensive metrics over the season.
Interesting. Okay, that's so very conservative.
It's not very good. Yeah. Defensively, it's 0.4, which is okay. Leeds are worse. They're both negative 0.4 for attack and negative 0.8. But as in the overall difference between them isn't all that. Like when I talk about a good fixture, so you see these are like light green and light red. Like a good fixture, like where we've seen City play a team like Forest, let's say, or something like that, they would be as high as like a 3.5, maybe 2.5. So we've had much higher like FDRs against other opponents this season. This isn't ideal. Yeah, so this isn't the best. It does show zonally though, so this is the interesting part. So then the next columns are left, center, right, and what it does show is that our center 5.2. That's actually the best zonal matchup this week in the Premier League from Mariner's model. So of all the zones, whether it's left, right, or center, Jesus and whoever else operates in our center, because it's not just Jesus, people do come in like Martinelli and Saka.
Xhaka in my draft team.
And Xhaka as well. Yeah, exactly. Xhaka as well. So many of our players operate in that central zone. Our central zonal matchup against Leeds is the best. So that implies that their centre backs are conceding most of their chances from the centre of the pitch when they're being pressing errors, as you were saying. So I think although the numbers themselves, like the actual fixture difficulty rating attacking wise, isn't as high as we would maybe want, one of the other things to bear in mind is because we're away from home. So when Mariner looked at this slide on the show, he was actually like, oh my God, it's a positive FDR for Arsenal away from home. So because this uses a lot of historic data too. So although it uses like this season, that's only 1/3 of the data, I think. And another third of the data will be all of last season. And it's like we were very bad away from home at times. So historically, this metric, unlike NextG, takes a bit longer to catch up. So he was actually saying that it might actually be better than 0.8 if we're just looking at this season. it's got a lot of the baggage of our previous bad away performances. And he was
Yeah,
actually shocked that this is the first time it's positive for us away from home. So I would take the number with a pinch of salt. It's probably a
that's
lot
the thing
better
with
record-wise.
models, right? That like I love
Yeah,
models and applying like a statistical lens on things, but I do feel like sometimes they can be, depending on the model and who makes them, they can be quite slow to catch up with like the reality of what you're watching week in, week out. Yeah, I guess that's really nice. Thanks for sharing that. And I
yeah.
guess
So I
it
think
kind
that's
of
really
leads on
important.
nicely onto the score predictions.
Yeah, let's get to predictions. Just in terms of for the podcast listeners, Martinelli Saka comparison, by the way, is the last 6 weeks only. And in here, Saka's XG for 90 is at 0.5, Martinelli's is 0.38. Martinelli's expected assist per 90 is 0.47 to 0.19 for
That's
Saka.
mental.
Now, big chances per 90, Saka's now come up there. He's 0.67 to 0.34 for Martinelli. And then their expected goal involvement, so their XA and XG combined is 37 for Martinelli. 31%. Now, that's a bit lower because we get goals from all over the team. In other
Yep.
teams, these can be as high as 50, 60 because like they have one player who everything goes through to
They're
someone
a
like a
talisman, right?
Madison or
Yeah.
a Kane. Yeah, exactly. I feel like
And
we're
it's
not
worth
relying on
noting.
one player so much.
Yeah, and obviously it's just worth noting Saka's XG is obviously boosted because of the pen as well, right? So
Big time, yeah, big time. Which is I'm so glad that he scored that. I was honestly, I felt sick, but I'm so glad he scored that and we won. Like, just that feeling was honestly horrendous. So let's go to the score predictions. This is obviously the last 9. You got your
I pulled
correct
one
score
back.
last week.
Yeah. So
You're
you're still
3-2.
winning, but clawing it back.
So I think I've had 3 correct score predictions out of the 9 games, and you've had 2. So
That's
you're
correct. Yep.
catching up. We've predicted 22 goals on my side, 21 goals on your side. We scored 23. I predicted 5 against us. You predicted 7 against us. We've conceded 10. And we've both got the correct outcome 89% of the time. So I think we've both predicted 9 wins and we lost to United. That's where that
Yeah,
comes
and
from.
even that, like, even although we got it incorrect that we lost to Man United at Old Trafford, we still thought that would be a game where we drop points. So I feel like we're thinking in the right terms, I guess, when we're doing these.
Cool. All right. So in terms of then what you predict for this week, while you have a think, I'm just going to give a couple of shout outs for 30 seconds to
Yep.
everyone who's tuned in live and also read out
There's
Mike's
a few of our
prediction.
boys are at the game on Sunday. Very jealous. I don't know if you've seen that in
I'm
the
so
chat.
gutted. Yeah, I've seen. So we've got Mike Halpin tuned in. He's just come off after the night shift. He's just woken up. Nice late start and get some rest in there, mate. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Pontus Johansson, afternoon, mate. Good to see you. Good to see Glenn Herriot as well, tuning in. Thank you, mate. And then, so Christopher Tellers as well. He's cooking at the moment. So no worries, mate. Nice to be there with you in the kitchen while you get your lunch ready. So the predictions so far we have from the AFC bite sizes in the chat. We have Mike Halpin 2-1 to the Arsenal, Glenn Herriot 1-0 to the Arsenal. So
Interesting.
what
Quite
do
tight
you
games
think?
then.
Yeah, I think so.
I'd say I'm usually the conservative one, right? I'm going 3-1. So 3-1 to Arsenal. So yeah, I think obviously, like I said, I really think Leeds will score. I just think we will cause them a lot of problems from, like I said, in terms of dribbling, what you said in that matchup, the central zones. I feel like we'll get a couple of goals from mistakes from them, and just in general, in the words of Ben White, yeah, it helps we're good at football. So I just think we'll create enough to score 2-3 goals, but I do unfortunately think we'll concede one. So I'm going 3-1 to the Arsenal. And yourself?
So just quickly, we've got Pontus Johansson as well saying 3-0. He clarifies
Oof.
to the Arsenal. Don't worry, I did know it was to the Arsenal. I'd be a bit worried if you thought it was the other way. I'd be very worried. So my prediction. See, the thing is, I want to say 2-0, but I'm not convinced we keep a clean sheet away from home. I'll stick with 2-0. I'll stick with 2-0.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
That would be great. If we could get a clean sheet away from home, I think that would be really good, because we've been conceding like really silly goals this season. So that would be nice to get a clean sheet on the table.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of all for now. Obviously, 19 minutes in, we want to do a quick 20-minute episode. So no questions for today.
Just a quick,
deadline.
obviously, shout out to Glenn and Mike. They're both going to be there in the away end on Sunday. So hopefully see you on the telly. And yeah, oh no, we're not on telly, are we? Oh, don't know what we're going to have to do about that. But
no, I think if you guys can send us, make sure you guys take a selfie together in the bar or pub that you're going before the game, and send it over online so we can see you guys enjoying the day out.
Have a great time. Very jealous. That's going to be a great away day. And
have a great time, guys.
Make it loud.
But lovely to see everyone, and enjoy the rest of your Friday. Up the Arsenal. Hopefully we win on Friday, and like the stream, please help the channel out and subscribe if you're new. But we'll see you guys on Monday evening at 7:30 p.m. for the review of the Leeds game. Take care, everyone. Come on, you Gunners. I can't find the button to get us out. So I will play the video from last week yet again. Scousers get battered everywhere they go. Scousers get battered everywhere they go.